Welcome to the Listening Lounge, where we unravel stories and ignite conversations one ear at a time. Here's your host of the Listening Lounge, Derek Dunn.
Thanks for joining us here in the Listening Lounge. I'm Derek Dunn, your host. Great to be here with you. You can find the podcast and podcast-related content on the Facebook and Instagram pages, the YouTube channels, RJ on the Air, and the Listening Lounge. The pod can also be found on Spotify. So you have multiple ways of accessing the podcast. Like, share, follow, and subscribe and help spread the word about the Listening Lounge. And I want to thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, helping spread the word about the podcast, as it is greatly appreciated. One cool feature that was added last week, earlier this week, following the podcast I did with Marty Slover, is what I call audio from the Listening Lounge. Now, these are highlight clips that I select based on what stood out to me when I interview a guest. You can only find that on the Listening Lounge Facebook page. And these clips can range from anywhere from a minute to, let's say, 7 minutes. Just under 10 minutes, but at least from a minute to 10 minutes. So think of it like highlight clips of the podcast. And those highlight clips will appear starting the day after the entire podcast is published and uploaded. I would also like to mention, if you want to support me, you can. You can support me at patreon.com/Derek Dunn. Again, patreon.com/Derek Dunn. That is spelled DerekDunn. My guest for episode 2 of the Listening Lounge podcast is one of my best friends. In fact, we went to Fairfield Community High School together. He was just one grade lower than me, though we're about the same age. But here's the thing. During our high school years, we didn't say a word to each other, didn't even have any classes together. We hung out for the first time during our college years. Now, we were at separate colleges. I was at Wabash Valley College in Mount Carmel, Illinois. He was at McKendree University over in Lebanon, Illinois, near St. Louis. And we hung out for the first time during our college years, and we haven't stopped hanging out since. He's a licensed certified public accountant for Lamone, Hardcastle and Company Ltd. and is a partner of the firm. He is also a numbers ninja, so he'll be throwing out those numbers like a Powerball jackpot. James Murphy has joined me here on the Listening Lounge as he has walked in as we begin our chat. Murph, first of all, thanks for joining me here on the Listening Lounge. And you just completed a busy tax season. So how did it go?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, that was kind of how we met and everything. Yeah, you're almost like a brother to me, and well, we've been hanging out ever since. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of help share what goes on in a tax office, so to speak. We just finished our 2023 tax season, as we call it, or technically 2024, but for tax year 23. And at least for us, it went better than the last 2 years. It's a combination of we were a little bit better prepared. We weren't nearly as behind as we had been the last couple of years. Being that our firm both does tax and audit or attestation work, our goal each year is to try to have audits done before tax season starts, so that way we can focus just on tax work. But while that still didn't quite happen as much as we would have liked, we've had some extra help along the way, and we made it through more smoothly. It is a step in the right direction, and hopefully the 2025 tax season for tax year 24 will be even better.
Well, every tax season is different, and was there anything about this tax season that was different from others in the past? Any changes regarding taxes at all?
Yeah, I would say the first thing that really caught a lot of people in the tax profession off guard was, the IRS, everyone thought that January 22nd was going to be the day that it started. But when the IRS came out and said, no, we're going to wait till January 29th, that just meant That's one less week that we had. So we had about 78 days from January 29th through April 15. Just under 80 days to file as many tax returns as possible, which for our office is several hundred. That kind of threw us for a loop right off the bat. As far as changes, you always have the normal amounts that get adjusted for inflation, like the standard deduction. I'll throw out a few things that actually changed from 22 to 23. You could have contributed more to your IRA in 2023. It went from 6,000 up to 6,500. Because inflation has been so high with regarding gas prices, mileage rate went up to 65.5 cents a mile. And another big one for that businesses saw was meals deduction in 21 and 22 for 100% deductible. But it went back to being 50% deductible in 23. So those were just some kind of key changes from 22 to 23.
Well, you told me before the onslaught of tax season that you had more help than last year. You felt good about your coworkers, you believed in your coworkers, but also the help that you had going in. And given how you just mentioned about less than 80 days to file those taxes with the IRS, how important is it to have your coworkers help you in shouldering the load?
It's imperative, to be honest. I was going to say, to follow up that. Yeah, we did have more help this year than the past. We had a staff member. She was a CPA. She had been with us for almost 3 years. She just got married in December, and she had to move away. She did move away the first part of January, which was kind of a hit to us. But at the same time, we were able to just hire someone as well. So it kind of evened out as far as number-wise goes. Then we had an intern that started helping us toward the end of 23 into early 24. And then about a third of the way through our staff is important. The way I see it is we can't service our clients without our staff to help. I think the core of any business is who you have working for you, as without them, a business, you're extremely limited on what and how many services you can provide. I'm an advocate that if you treat your staff well, just as I was treated well since I joined the firm back in January 2014, the business will be in a better place to be successful going forward.
Well, I mentioned earlier that you work for Lamont Hardcastle and Company Ltd, and not only are you an accountant there, but you're also a partner in the firm. And the business, before this tax season arrived, the business underwent expansion. Really,
it almost seemed like a word of mouth. Some clients were coming in, they would walk past there, and I'm like, we kind of invited them in to kind of look over and kind of see what we did on the other side. Then there's some that were even coming in and saying, oh yeah, I've heard that you guys expanded. Essentially, we had owned the building next door to us, and we'd been renting it out to various different businesses and nonprofits over the years. But we felt that with as much as our client base has grown, it was time for us to grow ourselves. We had outgrown our current space. So when we were mentioning to others that we were going to knock holes in the wall, that's essentially what we did. We had set up it literally doubled our size. So it set us up to have more storage. We got 4 cubicles set up there with desks and computers. We have a conference room in the back that at some point, once we get it organized, we can have staff meetings and things. And probably the favorite part for several of us is we have a second restroom. So that comes in handy at times too. But essentially, we made it to where at some point we're going to have up to 9 full-time working for us in the future. We're very grateful for the way it turned out, and I think we're primed to stay on the lookout for additional members to add to our team.
Well, I talked about the expansion and for your business, but also in the middle of tax season. See, you bought a home. You bought a home of your own right before tax season, started. And so not only, where you guys were expanding your business, but at the same time, you're still doing remodeling, renovations to your home.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were while we were kind of working here. Yeah, I just bought a house here in Flora. From driving back and forth or living in Mill Shoals over the last 10 years, I decided to move to Flora at the end of June 2023. And then, it kind of sat there for a while. I was able to go home at night rather than driving all the way back to mill shows, which it really wore out my last car. But yeah, it's been to be living, but also it's very convenient being only a mile from our office to where we had a lot of changes here too. So I had changes at home and changes in the business. So yeah, we got um, back when Casey's had their large pizzas, we had on top of the boxes it says something to the effect of, things are going to be different around here. And we kept several of those, and we got them hanging on the wall throughout the office. And I could say the same thing at home too. Yeah, things are certainly different.
I already ate, but pizza does sound pretty good right now. James Murphy here with me on the Listening Lounge podcast. So let's talk about, we talked about work a little bit. Let's talk about kind of like the genesis here of the start of your career, and what inspired you to become a CPA, and how has your journey been in this profession?
Yeah, when I get asked this question, I always refer back to my experience of taking my first accounting class with Lori Robson at FCHS my junior year. She brought in her daughter, who is also a CPA, and her daughter kind of explained, what her daily life is like, is sort of like being in the role of an accountant. Where she can work. The flexibility was one thing that really drew me in. Where you can work an hour, you can work more hours the first 4 days of the week, and maybe you can take off Friday, for example. That's, being in this profession is, if you get the work done, it is, sometimes it really doesn't matter when it gets done, as long as it gets done. But yeah, compared to hearing that, and then the good teaching of Lori, and I was always been really good with numbers. I was kind of set at that moment, knowing that that's what I wanted to do. I really was really good with math and numbers, but also if you put a dollar sign in front of it, now we're talking. You talk. It's okay if you add 2 plus 2 together, but now if you're talking, you're adding $2 plus $2 together. You start talking about dollars and cents. Now people are getting interested, and I was kind of drawn in by that. Yeah, my journey. It's constantly been improving and growing. It's I just finished my 11th tax season here, and I'm always learning something. It isn't even my other partner that's in the office with me. He just finished. I think he said he's been here. He just finished his 30 plus tax year. He would say he's always kind of learning something new each year. So it really, everything around you regarding tax and audit, there's things that are constantly changing, standards and rules. So it's definitely a profession that keeps you on your toes.
You always have to be aware of changes, and not everyone as you see individuals and businesses face.
Yeah, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone else, but I would say by far the most one is just kind of like a general lack of knowledge. It's not really anyone's fault necessarily. You don't really learn how to balance a checkbook in high school, as you would hear. Most people would probably agree, or how to set a personal budget, except for just certain classes. But unless you really go into the field of finance or accounting, or you have someone to really sit down with you to kind of guide you through that, you're starting off on the wrong hand as far as setting yourself up financially to knowing what you need to do to get to where you need to be long term. We have clients that try to do their own bookkeeping for their small business, and while some do it well, some others just need some help. But thankfully, that's why we exist, to help others, that struggle in that world of tax and accounting. It's no different than, I don't work in my own car, for example. I don't know anything about cars necessarily. I know it gets me to point A to point B, but I'm not. I'm going to hire someone to help me work in my car if I need it. And at the same time, if somebody needs help in their taxes or something, that's why we're here for.
I think it's more like for someone who doesn't know everything about taxes, like they want to do their own, but when they're struggling, when they need help, it's best to turn to a professional, one with experience, and that's where you come into play.
Yeah, exactly. it's even like if you're not really sure about something. I mean, there's credits and deductions that even like online software may not really ask you about, or that you may not know about. It's something that that we deal with this on a daily basis. Yeah, it's personally fine if somebody can do their own taxes online. All the more to them. I commend them for doing that. I didn't really do my taxes until I actually started working here. And I went to school for going to school through this all the way through and got my master's degree. And I didn't even do my taxes till I started here. But yeah, it's just something that yeah, if you're comfortable doing it, that's great. But if not, it might be really advantageous for you to find somebody that to give you that extra insight.
In your experience, and you, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, you just completed your 11th tax season. So, what are the key qualities or skills that differentiate a great accountant from a good one?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would, and when I thought about that, or when I think about this, is it's knowing. I would say knowing how to adapt to each client. Everyone has their own situation, from whether they're married and have kids, or maybe they just went through a divorce, unfortunately. We've got clients that they come in, they want to start a new business and have no idea how to get it set up. Maybe we have clients that just lost a loved one and don't really know what the first step they need to do is as far as taking care of their loved one's estate. It's knowing how to advise them in a way to best suit their needs. In my opinion, is the line that kind of separates a good accountant from a great accountant. A good accountant will give you options for a client to consider, but I think a great accountant will not only give you options for consideration, but also explain to them the positive and negatives of those decisions they have to make.
Dave Ramsey posted something on social media recently that caught my eye, and I want to go ahead and read this here to you, Murph, and see what you think. But he posted the top 5 careers of millionaires. The first one he listed was an engineer. The second was accountant, CPA, which is what your profession is. The third is teacher. Fourth is management, and fifth is attorney. And then he also said this: yes, these are surprising but very real statistics. My team conducted the largest study of millionaires ever done. They talked to 10,000 millionaires about who they are and what helped them achieve that goal. Only 15% of millionaires had a career in which they held a senior leadership role, like a vice president or CEO of a company. So, based off of that post by Dave Ramsey, it's like more of a two-parter of a question regarding the post. The first one is, do you agree with Dave Ramsey? And two, were you one of the millionaires in a study that was conducted?
Well, I can't speak for the other professions. I would say that the others, certainly they have the potential to, as Dave said, to reach that status. I actually saw, as Dave just recently posted, that there was some tax groups, accounting groups that I'm in, and they were discussing that. Some of them are saying, they see that they have the potential to, because accountants, we know what we're good at. We're finance. That's what we went to school for. We know accounting. We know tax. We know how to set up the tax code in our favor. We know what credits and things that we can qualify for, what can be deducted. But at the same time, there were some others in there posting. It's like, my bank account would beg to differ. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Being here working for a firm, we try to treat everybody as best we can. I started off kind of on the low end, but we ever since I've been here, the firm rewards those that work hard, and that's so I don't. It certainly does not. I don't quite meet that qualification yet, but who knows? Maybe down the road, maybe that might be. Ask me in 30 years, and maybe I can give you a different answer.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to mention here because just based off of your response, it's like there are people in various professions, and when it comes to janitors, for example, whenever I announce whatever sport it could be, basketball, volleyball, etc., and I see, the janitor walking around cleaning up, I treat them as if they're like the CEO of a company. And also because they do a great job and I'm so thankful for them. And not only that, but never judge a book by its cover either, because when you have, for example, we just listed, engineer, CPA, accountant, teacher, management, attorney, they could be driving like $1,000 car or pickup, going to work every day. And they are making, they're making bank. I'm just going to say that right now because the dollar value varies here. So just a couple of things that you mentioned that just hit me right there.
Yeah, and I think that's you can say that about a lot of successful people that even once they reach that millionaire mark, that we have clients that that you would come in, that walk in, that you wouldn't think that they're just like anybody else, but if you saw actually what they they're like their net worth, you'd be surprised to think that that person that walked in just looked like just anyone off the street that has that type of net worth. But yeah, no, it's this profession, it's there's a lot of opportunity. There's technically like an accounting shortage. That's they're trying to find more accountants. I think there's always going to be a need for our profession, and there's a lot of potential to potentially reach that mark if you join the firm or you want to go out on your own. The limit is the sky.
So you kind of talked about how you were inspired in high school to become an accountant, and it got me thinking about this. So when you have high school and college students, showing interest in accounting, when is the best time to start learning on how to become an accountant?
Yeah, I think about that, and kind of where I got my start. You go through grade school, you learn all the basics, you learn the basic math, and you learn how to read and write. And then high school, you really start to apply that more to your daily life. So I would probably say, I got my start in high school. That's not to say that someone even in grade school, if they find the right mentor, you can make them, the next president of the Big Four in the making type of thing, the Big Four accounting firms. But I would say generally high school is a good place to start, or even if somebody graduates high school, they're not really sure what they want to do yet. Taking a basic, even basic classes in college, at a local community college, take an accounting class, see if it's something that they enjoy. Accounting is something that you either really like it or you really, they don't like the numbers and they don't like any of all that. But I would say, yeah, just take it as early in life as possible to see if that's for you. And that way you can set yourself up to take the classes and you get the degree and potentially the certification that you need to succeed later on in life.
I was also thinking about how when you have that high school, college age student, and kind of seeing a little bit like the grade schools as well, like with career exploration, but job shadowing and researching, since we're talking about accounting here, I think that goes a long way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's nothing that we've actually done in our office, but that's hey, I don't see any reason why we couldn't. There's some general work that we do that I would be okay with someone coming in, kind of see what I do on a daily basis. Where it's not we're working in anything confidential. There's all sorts of various type of work that we do. From just bookkeeping, reconciling a bank statement to doing a tax return. But I mean, we do Excel work and analytical stuff for clients. There's audit work that we do. But it's a lot of spreadsheet driven software use. But at the same time, there's even stuff we still have to do on paper. We've got to dot our I's, cross our T's. But yeah, no, it's certainly, you think it's something that being in a tax office or in the accounting field, you think it's kind of boring. But until you actually get into it and you actually work in that type of environment, you might be kind of surprised. Everybody here would say they absolutely love their job, and they're thankful that they get to come to work every day in this field. And And I think that's something that our young people that they may not really realize that, and maybe they can actually kind of work in an office. They can kind of see how it functions, and maybe that'll be what they need to see for them to make that decision to go into the accounting field.
James Murphy here with me on the Listening Lounge. Murph, I was thinking about another question here, a follow up about the high school, college age group. But when they're in school, do you foresee any electives that they could take that could maybe enhance their skills and abilities?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it also kind of depends too on just kind of where you see yourself in the accounting profession, but anything business related, finance, anything that deals with dollars and cents. There's successful accountants that have an MBA. They don't have like a master's in accounting, or may not even have their own CPA. Some of them just go out and they get what's called an enrolled agent. That's just a kind of a tax certification. But yeah, anything like finance, numbers related, you'll be working with people that, we have several clients that, all they have is a W-2. In that case, we plug it in our software and we print out their tax return, have them sign it, we file it. But at the same time, you're also going to have clients that have a business, and you need to set yourself up to help them or help organize their information, help and guide them on what they can deduct or not. And, taking those classes, helping even also you working on their information, maybe you can see things that you can suggest to them to, hey, have you thought about putting money in your IRA, for example? Taking some of those electives, anything like money, business related. Also, if you're going to be, even taking a communication class, because, if you're going to be in a position where you're going to be communicating with clients, you want to make sure you can communicate effectively and be able to, share what you know in a way that they can understand.
With the rise in technology, how do you see the role of CPAs evolving in the future?
As much as everyone might think, I don't think the CPA is going anywhere. For some of our profession, as soon as the AI came out, so our job is done. I think almost kind of any profession would feel that feel in that sense. But for really, I don't really think we're going. I think there's always going to be a need for this type of. I don't think we're going to be replaced by a robot, for example. However, we can utilize the new software that comes out. With the rise of AI and the Chat GPT, we can use that to our advantage. We can help us. We can give it a prompt and it'll help us write a letter to the IRS. I mean, that saves us time and helps us streamline our services better. There's clients that we need to write letters to, or to kind of write memos to make clients aware of if a tax change or something, or hey, we got an idea that we need some extra insight on. We can ask AI to give us some different options. So I think as long as it's anyone in our profession, CPAs, if they're trying to if they stay caught up, they're going to be set up for success. But yeah, I would really recommend anyone that's in this field. You got to evolve with it. Otherwise, you can be left behind.
See, that pertains to my full time job in the field of education is trying to keep up with the latest trends in technology since I use technology about all the time at work. And so if I'm not, staying with it here, then I'm going to be left behind in the dust and I'm going to try to catch up when it seems like I just won't be able to ever catch up at all.
Right, and that's it. And there's a lot of people that don't like change. I don't necessarily like change, but it's in a sense you're changing, but in a good way. It's more so adapting than maybe changing. This new software comes out or this new program, or we have to being able to find a way to use that. Maybe who knows, it might be able to do something that you're already doing but do it better. and that's where it's very advantageous for you to consider, where this technology is going to go. And I mean, we've seen so much advancement just in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, who's to say where it's going to be at in the future? It's with how fast it's expanding. So, I would say in any profession, not just CPAs, but staying caught up in all the changes, and seeing if you can stay caught up with it. Otherwise, you could be not running as efficiently as you could be.
And you mentioned AI for a moment, and I think I think of AI like when you're the same age as I am. When we were kids and we would play video games, and AI was like that ally or that the enemy in video games. And now it's like I think the speed of AI, how it's just so quickly developed, and it seems like it's everywhere now, in video editing apps, software. It's just crazy to me, the speed of it. And so I'm also wondering if it's currently being used in the accountant world.
Yeah, it's ongoing. It's still developing. I've stayed up a little bit with some of the developments. There's things out there now I mean, you can upload, like an help us effectively or do our jobs better. It saves us time, which, as the saying goes, time is money. So if we can do things that saves us time and does things quicker, helps us, analytically look at something and get the full picture. Hey, that's a win. But yeah, it's something. It's still ongoing. It's still developing. There's constantly companies out there that's trying to implement in software in their, in their software, and I'm kind of seeing uh, different options and things being pitched as it grows. I'm kind of curious and excited at the same time to kind of see how far it goes. But yeah, it's still ongoing. But yeah, you can do so much already, and I think we're just barely scratching the surface.
For individuals looking to manage their personal finances better, what advice would you give them?
I would honestly say there's a couple of ideas. One is probably just, you can even at a local college, or like accounting class or finance class, that either you can even maybe find like a course online, like a master class or something that you can take online that would benefit somebody's personal finances. The other thing I would recommend is, really establish a relationship with either like somebody that works in investing, or that knows their personal finances, like a certified financial planner, or even there's sometimes like a certified public accountant, like what we do, or just even where I don't really know how to work in my car so much, but I'm really good with numbers. So for somebody, they're really good at things on their personal finances. They can come to us and we can give them some insight and some pointers on where to look, what they're looking, where they want to see the retirement account down the road, and we can give them guidance on, this is what you can do now to, not pay any more taxes than you have to in the future. And I think finding that personal relationship, just like you have that one person you go to, that personal person that works on your car, or that's someone that you need construction done in your house. That's having that person that you can call for questions. I think that's very beneficial.
So, we've been talking about finances and money here in the listening lounge, and it reminds me of a story, a testimony that you have, and it happened about 10 years ago, back in 2014. And you have told me this story, and I find it fascinating. I find it interesting, and was wondering if you could tell our listeners what that story is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to kind of keep it concise, but yeah, essentially it boils down to I graduated with a master's degree in accounting back in the fall of 2013, and it was, I mean, back at that time, it's a different atmosphere as far as finding a job goes. It was a lot more difficult back then than it is now. I was just graduated with a master's degree. I was starting to take my CPA exams. I moved back home. I was originally thinking I'd be working in a big skyscraper in St. Louis over, working for one of the big four accounting firms, looking down to watching the Cards baseball game from my office. That didn't quite happen. So I'm going to move back home. I was studying, trying to job search. I went to uh, uh, several job interviews. I kept getting rejection letters in the mail. And it got pretty serious at one point. My brother, he was still going in school. It's not like he could loan me any money. My parents had just sold their business, so they were taking time off to kind of relax after working a lot of their lives. So, they couldn't really necessarily loan me much. But then, yeah, early January 2014, my bank account got down to less than $22. And I had student loans that were getting ready to come due. I still had my car payment to make. And I was almost getting to like a breaking point, like, something's got to give. But it just so happens that where I work now, I'd interviewed for them and they had hired somebody else. But then when I started praying about it, I turned just a couple of weeks later, I'll get a call back from this office again saying that the guy that they had hired decided to take a job elsewhere, which led this opening. So it was almost like when that door shut, I kept the faith and God opened that door back open for me. And, I started off here. I was, I was even willing to start trying to work even just to get experience. That was the biggest thing that I was having trouble with back then. I just graduated and I didn't have, an internship in this field yet. But I had the knowledge, but not the experience. And and I started off in kind of the rough shape. I had loans. I was in debt. Had loans to pay back. Had less than $22 in my bank account. But then fast forward to now, I've just bought a house. I bought a new car a couple of years ago. Other than the mortgage on my house and paying my car loan back, I ended up within 9 or 10 years. I paid all that off. I was debt free. And I'm setting myself up for the future for a nice retirement. If it works, I didn't make a whole lot those first years working here. It shows that if you work hard, uh, God will reward you.
Well, you talked about having less than $22 in your bank account 10 years ago, and I read a quote the other day, and I thought it was a really good quote, and it, talks about what you went through, and that is, rock bottom will teach you life lessons that mountaintops never will. And for you to be at rock bottom, you talked about that breaking point, being at rock bottom, but then you rising up like a phoenix from the ashes. What an incredible story, man.
Yeah, it was one like I really, as soon as I got that phone call back and I had a job. I applied for so many different places. I traveled around, went to job interviews. I kept getting rejection letters in the mail. And I thought, I went to school. I was part of some organizations like it's Phi Beta Lambda, which is the collegiate version of FBLA from high school. They teach you a lot of different times of how to interview. I spent a lot of time with, in the job department at the college, my resume was about as good as it can get. But yeah, I kept getting all this stuff. I was defeated, because I couldn't get a job anywhere. But getting that phone call back, it's such a rewarding feeling it's almost like, getting a promotion in a sense. You work really hard and it's like, now that's just such a relief off your shoulders, getting that call. You've been accepted for this position. We want you to, start in such and such day. It's you really, no matter how successful you get, I think once you go through that valley, no matter what mountain you go to, you remember where you came from, and it helps you stay humble. And I'm always going to be thankful for everything that God has provided to me and has helped me and allowed me to do. So I'm very thankful, and yeah, I've got a lot of blessings to thank God for.
We are blessed more than we deserve, and when you look back what you experienced in 2014, can it be a help to those who maybe going through a similar situation now? Do you feel like you can say, hey, what happened to me, like what you're going through, I went through in 2014, and I can provide some guidance and advice?
Yeah, I would say, especially like even right now, with the prices of everything being high, you even like I know that jobs are more plentiful now, but at the same time, I mean it's with inflation has been really rough on a lot of people. The cost of living has went up so much, and that's went up probably more than what a lot of people make. And so you might be, looking at your bank account and be realizing, hey, I'm not sure if I can make. I'm not sure how I'm going to make this loan payment, or I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get if I'm going to pay my bills this week. But I would say just keep the faith, keep looking for any opportunity, working hard. I kept pushing myself to, no matter. At some point, I was going to have a breakthrough, and it's kind of the rest is history. But for anyone going through that, I definitely understand. You just have to keep at it. Keep the faith, and keep looking for opportunities that maybe you can leave a job, and maybe God's calling you to work somewhere else. Where there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's just a matter of trying to keep your eye out and where God wants you to go, and just don't give up.
Well, Murph, this has been a great discussion, man, about tax season, and then you also how you got started on your journey to becoming a a licensed certified accountant CPA, and also that story about you about being in that situation, less than $22 in the bank, and look at you right now, and it's incredible. Is there anything else you want to add on that maybe I've not asked yet, or maybe you've got something you've not mentioned yet, or?
Yeah. Well, it's even. I mean, even so, I would recommend anybody that's really just to continue to find ways that you can improve financially. To set yourself up better. There's I know a lot of people work hard, but maybe they could ask their tax person, their tax professional, hey, is there anything that you recommend that maybe there's something I can do to where I'm not paying as many taxes now or in the future. There's things that you can plan now that your future self will thank you for. I'd always recommend that. We got a couple of desks open here, so we're always still kind of hiring here. I would just say that hard work really pays off. I mean, I've been blessed here. I was originally denied the position, but I was reaccepted to it when I got that call back. It was my goal to make partner within 9 years. I made it in 7. They've treated me well here, and I'm very thankful for it. But I would say find a local person that's really good with numbers, and you kind of pick their brain, see what they can share with you to help your situation.
Here's a question that I have here, and just happen to think of this one. But do you foresee yourself being the I'm going to call it the head honcho, the big cheese at the place where you work? Do you foresee that coming down the road the way things are looking now?
Yeah, even now, I think there's opportunity for me to be even, and that has been the case. As time goes on, to being more of a partner in the firm and having even a higher role. But yeah, I think just even with what I'm doing, I'm still kind of a newer partner. I've only been a partner for a couple of years, and but yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. From working here as a staff member, not having to, I just come in, do my time, and do some tax returns and leave. But in this position where you're kind of the business owner, uh, it's a different dynamic, and you've got to help manage the staff. You got to make sure that everybody's, the clients are taken care of. Make sure everything's in line. But yeah, even in this, even kind of where I'm at now, that's kind of goes back to being in this profession. There's always opportunity for growth, and I'm still going through that growth phase, even as of now.
All right, Murph, to wrap this up here, rapid fire questions. Okay, so for vacation destination, would you rather go to the mountain or would you rather go to the beach?
Mountain.
Okay, all right. Let's
Probably
see.
because I don't know how to swim.
Oh yeah, you don't know. I forgot you don't know how to swim. That's right. Let me think here. Oh, okay. I just happened to think of one. Let's talk about state-wise. Would you rather go to Texas or Florida?
I would say Florida because I've been to Texas twice, but I've never been to Florida.
Okay, and let me think of one more here. I just had one in mind. Oh, here we go. Cake or pie for dessert?
I got to go with pie.
Okay.
There's a,
I was gonna say, why'd you get ready to say the reason why, or?
no, I was just gonna say as much as I like ice cream cake and all those cake, there's just something about a fresh apple pie or a peach pie or something, blueberry pie, blackberry pie. I keep on going. All stuff.
Yeah, I know you're getting hungry already.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey Murph, James Murphy, ladies and gentlemen, Numbers Ninja, local certified accountant. Thanks very much for hopping with me here in the listening lounge, man. Thanks for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it, and greatly appreciate our friendship as well over the years.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I can kind of share a little, kind of let people kind of take a peek beyond the curtains of what happens in the background of an accounting office and some of the things that I can help recommend to others. But yeah, no, man, it's always a pleasure talking and getting to hang out with you, and glad I can help you out today. And if anybody ever has any questions, they know how to get me. We're just a phone call away here in Florida.
All right. Well, again, folks, that was James Murphy. Again, he works for Lamone Hardcastle and Company Ltd. And they're in downtown Flora, Illinois, is where you can find them at. And thanks for joining us here in the Listening Lounge, where we unravel stories, ignite conversations one ear at a time. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. The YouTube channels RJ on the Air and the Listening Lounge. You can also find the podcast on Spotify. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you all on the next podcast of the Listening Lounge.